Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious with this awesome supporter of the American Space Museum and all we do here, Mr. Terry White. Hi, Terry.
It's good to be here.
Great to always see you, Terry. Mustache is looking great today. The humidity's just right for it, it looks like.
It is.
And we might even go off air because we got some bad storms rolling in here. Had some thunder strikes yesterday that knocked the museum out for a little bit, but so we'll see what happens today. I've got my finger on the my smart tablet here so we can see you chime into things when that pops up. Where is that there? And so get your questions ready for Terry. We got a program today that we're going to talk about rollbacks of the shuttle. I said to Terry last week when we talked about this, I said Starliner's getting really beat up in the press for the delays and so forth. And I'd like to do a program about where the media were critical of the shuttle delays that are necessary because you got human beings on board there, Terry.
Yeah, the media had a habit of really beating up on NASA and the subcontractors about us not getting our act together, but I always told the media when I escorted them around, I said, no, I said, we will not launch until everything is perfect. I said a 99% safety record is not good enough. We strive for 100%. And so I said, when it's ready, we will launch until it is. But, the press still beat us up on the fact that, well, here they got another delay. Here they got another delay. They can't get their act together. And then it surprised me when SpaceX started launching, the media was real slack on SpaceX and them changing their launch schedule. I couldn't figure it out. But then they started with Boeing getting on them about issues. And I never worked on that spacecraft, so I don't know some of the things, but they had some of the same issues we did, and the media got back to picking on them again of not being able to get their schedule together. So,
well, I want you to, Starliner, Snake Bit, whatever the problem has been. Now Sonny and Butch are up there, and all you hear about is not that they're checking out this maiden spacecraft on a human flight that it's helium thrusters this and this isn't going right.
yes.
So do you feel their pain? I mean, what's going on that you can tell people that?
Like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but yeah, it is an issue.
There you go. Well, Riley says hi, Grandpa. Okay, so your daughter Rebecca's watching.
Yep.
If you got to take it,
I don't have to take it. I just have to shut it off.
okay. All right. Well, we've got the family watching today. Travis, your son, Rebecca, your daughter, and we love having Terry on the program. Terry, you've done such a great job of promoting the American Space Museum everywhere you go. We really appreciate that. You are another boots on the grounds for us because you see what we do here.
Yes.
And a part of our program is to preserve the integrity and the memory of the shuttle era that for 30 years you were part of, and think of all the thousands of people like you that owe everything they own to the shuttle era.
Yeah, but they were so proud to. The majority of the people were so proud to be able to work in our American space program and to work on the space shuttle. So I think I've told you before that there were times when the government was going to shut down, and the higher ups in the company and the HR especially could not understand when I said, well, we'll still come to work because there was things we had to do every day to the vehicle to maintain it in flight capability. And they said, no, they won't. I said, yes, they will. And I'd walk them around and people would say, yeah, I can't go for a long time, but if Terry wants me to come in, I'll be in here and keeping the vehicle ready to go.
Well, that was the dedication that is sometimes lost in today's 21st century in the workforce, I think. A lot of people don't want to do something for nothing. But when you're passionate about something, like we are here at the American Space Museum, we're always doing something for nothing around here, it seems like. But So that's what we're going to talk about today. We got Marty Winkle running the board here today with our intern Logan Cope from Eastern Florida State College, sitting in the watch what Marty's doing chair there. Logan's done a great job, and Marty wanted to get in there with our A-list guest here, Mr. Terry White. We want to remind everybody that our charity auction is Saturday, June 22nd, 5 to noon to 5 p.m. And hit the QR code there. You can go and start bidding on 301 lots of space history. And one of the unique items that's already over $600 on a pre-bid is this STS 13 patch, the Black Cat patch. And I forget which mission that was, Terry. Do you remember the Black Cat patch? I'm going to get my scroll out here. That was the 9th mission. Was the last one named 10, 11, 12. It's 41G. Yeah, Crippen, McBride, Sullivan, Scully Power, they all made up this patch. I think it's them. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 41G would have been STS 13. And though that's not the reason why they changed to that crazy letters and numbers, it was an accounting thing with the government, right?
Yep.
But anyway, that's going to go for big bucks. We got a space flown flag that's given to Cheryl Armstrong, a executive secretary to Johnson Space Center VIPs, and then the other patch there is all 17, all Apollo beta cloth logos on beta cloth with Skylab or I think Skylab's thrown in there. Maybe it's the ASTP. So these are things you can bid on now. If you want to give $1,000 for that Black Cat patch, it's already up to $600, and it goes for $900. That's what you'll get it for. But if you're willing to pay that money, you put what your maximum is on there. There you are inside the orbital processing facility there that we've go back and look at some of Terry's previous shows on our YouTube channel. We've done 1,070 shows now of Stay Curious, and about 700 of them on YouTube. The rest are on Facebook. Give you a little flash from the past there, my friend.
Yeah. After they'd been to Daytona, they came down to the Space Center. So that happens to be my younger brother in the center.
And tell us who's there on the left.
Earnhardt Sr., and you can describe the rest of them because I'm not a race car fan.
Well, that's the king, Richard Petty on the right.
Petty, yeah.
And Earnhardt. This said to be pretty early in the shuttle era there. Don't know if you remember, can date it at
I can't
81,
date it.
82, 83.
It was a little later than that because my brother was back here working again, and he'd gone out to California to work on building Discovery and Atlantis.
Well, you're doing the talking there, I can tell. So what do you got? A bag of goodies there from the shuttle
we
to show
gave
the
him
king?
some tile to hold to show him. So, and then it wasn't too long after that we had shown him how the soft goods can really cut down on the heat. That then NASCAR started running the blankets and the felt and on their cars, and that to cut down on the heat from the engine and the track.
That's right.
So yeah, spin-offs from space in race cars as well.
Jay Honeycutt was involved in that.
Yes.
In the late 90s. They actually approached NASA for some the driver's feet were just getting burned.
Yeah, and so I actually brought cars here and worked on installing it.
Okay. We got a question here. I see that question, Marty. I'll get to that here in a second. Okay. I see Steve Jokums. We got some other highs to say to people since I have my stroll here in my hand, my smart tablet. What do you remember about? These are two of the most famous race car drivers in the history of race car driving in America. Dale Earnhardt on the left, of course, lost his life in the Daytona 500. Richard Petty on the right, the king, 200 victories. I met both of them many times as a photographer and track photographer at Bristol Motor Speedway. And you couldn't find nicer superstars in my mind.
They were nice, down to earth, and they were just overwhelmed with the things they got to see in their visit. But yeah, so
I'm sure very appreciative of the time that you took with them.
Yeah.
There.
Matter of fact, Earnhardt sent me a hat and a T-shirt.
Did he?
Yeah.
Signed?
Said thanks for this. So
Yeah. And you know, to be around Dale Earnhardt and realize that when he died, NASA lost about half their NASCAR lost about half their fan base. You would know why if you're around the man. He eighth grade education, and but he treated you just with respect and like you were a friend. At least when we were in the media, he did back then. So, well, wanted to give a little shout out there. Hey, Mia. Look at Grandpa there, huh? There's Dave Stangy there, and he's with his daughter, his granddaughter, Mia, he says, watching today. So, hi, Mia. Wave at Mia there.
Okay.
She's
Hi, Mia.
about a year
And while
old.
we're doing this, I need to do a shout out to Lane and Riley and Renee and LJ. They're all watching in Louisiana.
Those are your grandkids.
Correct.
And Larry Pushkar, friend of Dave Stangy there from Michigan, they're both wearing Chris Cali artwork there, or Cali artwork. Chris is blue Ed White there, and his dad, Paul Cali's shirt of Neil Armstrong there. This is when they were both here last year visiting us, and so it's a coincidence that little me is watching Grandpa today. So hope you're enjoying Stay Curious. Gary Gerald says hello. Good to see Terry. He's in Collins, Georgia. Mark Thiel, good to see you on. Ask your questions away there, Mark. He's looking forward to another great show. Connie McDaniel says hello, Terry. So sorry I missed you. She's way behind on the hugs, and
Yes, she is.
but we'll have to catch up somehow there. And Steve Jokums out of the chute here up at our Lake County Spaceport. Steve's question for Terry: there appears to be I'm going to take that off there, and we'll devote to the question there. Steve Jokums, question for Terry: there appears to be a point in time where Columbia's thermal protection system was augmented to use more blankets than the VERT stabilizer. Looks like a combination of tiles and blankets. Why is that? Oh,
Okay.
but the vertical stabilizer looks like a combination of tiles and blankets. Why is that?
Okay. Well, when Columbia and Challenger were built, we didn't have the blankets. So they had what we call low temperature, which is the white tile instead of the black tile on the lower temperature areas. So we actually built some test blankets and flew them on Challenger to test and see how they would work while they were building Discovery. They worked very well. So then Discovery was outfitted with blankets. We lost Challenger not too long after that. And then later on, when Columbia went back to California for major modification, they removed a lot of the white tile and put blankets on. They just never put as many blankets on as the other three orbiters had on it.
Great question, Steve. That was the first thing that shocked me when I saw Atlantis up close. Was there's quilts on that thing? What's that? No one
Correct.
told me about that.
Yeah, because Atlantis has a little over 24,000 tile on it, but when Columbia was originally built, it had almost 32,000 tile. So I think it still wound up having about 28,000 tile on it. So we did remove about 4,000 tile and replace them with blankets.
And the type of tile is still important in space age today, particularly the Starship.
Yeah.
That's got so different types of tiles
Well,
on
you
it.
go look at all the different ships that they're launching, including SpaceX and all of them. They have tile
Yep.
on their systems. They just don't have the tile on the bottom of the
On the
capsule.
blade of shield, yeah.
On the
It's-
blade
it's-
of
it's
shield, because that
around
gets
other
hotter
places
than the
in
tile
there.
will withstand.
Dave Stingy says his granddaughter Mia is saying Papa and Mark. Well, we hope you stay curious there, little girl, and have a good snack with Grandpa there. And Carlton Bailey said hello to us. He's looking forward to another great show. Hi, Mark, Marty, Terry, and all the other minions here at the American Space Museum. So thank you, CB. We'll catch up with you. Hope that we're finally getting some rain around here as you around the country, seeing the southern half of Florida is really getting hammered. We're getting our share.
We
but-
finally started getting into my house. We got 2 inches in the last 2 days. And that's the
Good.
first rain we've had in quite a
Yeah,
while.
fills up stuff quite a bit there. Let's see what else. Oh, I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about this guy's going to be on our show tomorrow. There is Alex Carl, European Space Agency, Eurocom. He talks to the European astronauts when they're in orbit on the space station. We met his last visit here at the Moon Hut. And you've been to the new reopened Moon Hut
Yep.
there?
Been there for lunch, so
It's good.
Yes,
Did
it
you
is.
eat it good? Yeah.
Yep.
I've eaten several meals there. I've eaten evening meals there. and their dinner. I think they quit the dinner menu.
Okay.
But it's this is a legendary restaurant at Cape Canaveral called the Moon Hut. The new owners have renovated, except this famous back room there. Alex Carl, we look forward to seeing you. He's going to talk about Asteroid Day, that he's on the board for that in Luxembourg. Asteroid Day is all about not if, but when a killer asteroid will hit the Earth again, like the one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Correct.
And what we as Earthlings can maybe do to save our planet if we are know enough about it ahead of time. And yes, part of that is redirecting an asteroid, and they've done science with that already with a mission. So we're going to be talking about Asteroid Day coming up, as well as his ESA career on tomorrow with Alex Carl. Alex has been on several times, and we look forward to his visit. A couple other items there that I put up there. There's the patch we were talking about. This is very interesting. This was given to Cheryl Clark. This is the STS 41C group of astronauts in a joke shot. Here's the astronauts in their military uniform, the first official top secret DoD mission. All right. And you remember anything about that, Terry?
No, other than the fact that they told us we couldn't go upstairs, and I told them that that we have to go upstairs. We still had to get the vehicle ready and that, but they didn't want us looking into the payload bay and looking at the secret hardware. And I said, well, we can't tell what it is anyway, but we can go to Air and Space magazine and find out a whole lot about it.
Did you really?
Yeah. But
51C was this mission in January 1985, Discovery's third mission, the first DoD of 10 DoD missions. A lot of this has been declassified. You've got Ken Mattingly was the pilot there with the bald hair. We just lost him about 4 months ago. Lauren Shriver was the pilot there with the mustache. Marty's running mate sometimes in the Beat the Boss. Was he a Beat the Boss guy, Marty?
He was.
In your marathon running stuff, or who else is there? Buckley. Buckley's he's in the Hall of Fame, and El Onizuka on the far left, his flight before he lost his life in Challenger, and Peyton is on the far right there in their military garb there. But this is them in a joke picture that they took and then signed it and gave it to people at Johnson Space Center. And I love it. Look at Tom Mattingly there. He's got a Bowie knife in his mouth in there. So
was that when they were doing survival training, or they just staged that picture for the?
They probably were doing both. You know, that Marty thinks they probably were doing survival training, and because astronauts would do the formal picture in the pumpkin suits. Then if they were military, they would do the military suit with civilian clothes, and then they would do some madcap funny thing about their mission, and we love sharing those when we see those. You've seen some of them being Star Trek,
like
and
playing football on the mid-deck. And
yes, right. The one of the crew was a MASH unit, and all that sort of stuff. So we wanted to keep promoting our auction, to go check that out. And here's one other last item there. You can buy jewelry there. Hard to find Apollo jewelry. Or Charlie and Dottie Duke signed their book Moonwalker, and that should go for $200 with all the extra things there, with a picture of them at an event there. So check out our auction. You can bid now. Well, let's get to what we want to talk to Terry about, is the rollback. And rollback is a term NASA uses when the space shuttle is rolled back from the launch pad atop the mobile launch platform and crawler transporter and taken back to the vehicle assembly building. So I was surprised that Wikipedia had a list of them. You've got them too there.
Good chronological list.
A chronological list. We're going to talk about those. How many do you think there were? But before we talk about how many rollbacks there were, you couldn't do a rollback without the crawler. And Clay Walker, who's been on our show, you remember Clay, he talked about the Vandenberg and had some great pictures of the Vandenberg Slick 6 space shuttle launch pad being built that never happened. Well, these are some of Clay's pictures he took of the crawler, and I thought it'd be of interest. And Terry, just comment. a lot of people don't get to see these pictures, and I think some of people be amazed at some of the things we see there. But there's the driving
Yeah. And
cab.
people didn't realize we kept the crawler sitting at the bottom of the launch pad until it got close to launch, just in case there was a need for a rollback, that we didn't have to bring it all the way from the crawler yard back
Okay.
out there. Plus, there was a staging area halfway to the pad where they did some maintenance on the crawler. But generally, the crawler sat right there at the bottom of the pad, just in case they had to go up and pick up the MLP again and bring the vehicle back.
Well, that's the cab. It's obviously got a CRT screen, so it's from the 2000 era probably. But much is said about how big the tractor treads are on there, each weighing a ton, isn't it, or something
Each
like
weighs
that?
2,000 pounds.
Damn, that's something else. That's looking underneath it. There's looking at the track and
Yeah, and it's actually
the hydraulic system to keep it level.
yes. So even though it goes up the ramp to the top of the pad, the thing stays perfectly level all the way up. So the hydraulic adjusts it so that the mobile launch platform still stays level as it's climbed up the hill. Then it goes up and precisely sets it down on 4 small pedestals that it needs at the top of the pad.
And this is the piston area there. Look at those cables coming out off Carrie's.
And
I mean,
and-
this is a modern marvel, of course, of itself. It's been
and it was
called that in
upgraded after the shuttle program. Then they did extensive modifications to the crawler and to the MLP.
Yeah, Tom Celentano says, quite a machine, and that's why we're taking you into some of the bowels of it. It had 4 of these diesel engines.
Correct. Yep.
We've got 1 piston of them in our shuttle gallery, and it is a huge piston. It's I don't know what they equate it to. But it's that big around. Yeah, Marty.
Hey Terry, does the hydraulic system keeping it level, is that on a computer or is that manual control?
No, that's computer controlled.
Laser stuff in the end.
I
stuff
don't
kinda
know.
helping.
I didn't ask them. They
Uh-huh.
took me down through there because several of my friends worked in the
Gotta think it's
crawler.
pretty.
So
Gotta think it's pretty noisy. There's the mufflers up on top. It
Yes.
looks like, but you probably had to wear ear protection.
yep.
And no, this is not in the ON, or ONC,
Or in the
This-
firing room. So
this is in the bowels of the transporter here.
Yep.
And there's several rooms like this. And what are they doing there with this computer stuff?
I don't know.
Okay.
I never went inside there when they were operating it. So
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess they're watching the engines and everything else they need to watch. But yeah, it got quite modernized. So you had offices inside this thing. Our Shuttle Fest 2 was built around the movie Base to Space about Mobile Launch Platform 2. And everybody commented, including Marty, that it was very much like a ship inside. It was built by a ship company, and
yeah, its doors that close were like hatches on a ship, or the doors on a ship, and that. So yeah, it was interesting to go inside the MLP and evaluate everything that was in there and look at all the equipment.
well, there I thought we'd take you a little bit into the bowels of that, and but now here's the Wikipedia that I pulled off, and I was surprised that of the rollbacks, if I would to guess, I would guess, maybe there was like 135. Yeah, I'd say maybe, 35, 40 of them had to be rolled back for something. And this is 2 pages of it that we're going to talk about today. No, only 20. All right. And doing a little tally, 6 were for weather and 6 were involved with the external tank. And Terry will elaborate on that. And so that's 12 of the 20. So the other 8 were, 2 of them were aborts that you had to go back for the engines
Yes.
to be replaced. Though you did replace engines on the pad,
On the
correct?
pad, yeah. But in the early days, we went back to the VAB.
Because
to
I think
replace-
there
yeah.
was 9 total aborts, 8, 9. We wanted to do a program on that and haven't. But and anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about these aborts, and as we're going to look at this, that's our green screen picture behind us here. That is this beautiful picture there, where you see the incline, so you can definitely see how those pistons would have to work. Yeah, go ahead, Marty, make it bigger there. See how those pistons, I mean, that's quite an incline there.
Yes, it is. And you know why it's set up like that, right?
No. I know.
The pad's built in the swamp. So you had to raise the pad so you had enough room for the flame trench and all that. Otherwise, you couldn't dig down into that. Even though you supported everything, you didn't have enough stable ground underneath to go construct this flame trench. And that's so you built yourself a mountain to climb.
There you go. So
Yeah.
right at the end of you're at the end of an ocean. You're at
Yeah.
zero.
Yeah. When
Sea
you get up
level.
at the top of the pad and look around, it's water all around you.
Well, I'm gonna have to look into that, Terry. There must be a lot of structure underneath in the ground there.
It is. It is.
Riprap, rock, and all kinds of stuff in
and
there.
piling on top of pilings on top of pilings are driven down there till they get down to the hard rock to support that weight.
Because how much weight are we talking here? The orbiter, then the stack together was 6 million pounds.
I think the whole thing with the crawler, the mobile launch platform, and that nowadays is the 18 million pounds.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But so talk a little bit about some of these paddle boards that hit your eye there. I got some random pictures.
The one that a lot of people don't believe, and it wasn't the only case. I mean, we had damage to the orbiter from hail. We had damage to the external tank from hail and that. But we had damage to the tank from woodpeckers.
Yeah, let's go to that. Here we go. There's the ET tank there. Want to take you into the bowels of the engine compartment. Just look at all that, man. And to have to get all that set up and ready to go, and then you got to roll it back.
And everything yellow in there is for us to climb on to get around inside there. And all those red and pink and orange, those are covers to protect the fragile plumbing for the engine. Those all come out before flight, including all the yellow structure in there comes out before
I
flight.
didn't realize that the red and
Yeah,
pink
those are protective
just
covers. They're molded covers to protect those lines.
because those are the fuel lines going into the
Fuel
engines,
and
right?
liquid oxygen. Yes. Yeah.
What was it, 18 inches?
Yes.
So 18-inch fuel line. Okay, that'll move some fuel from that ET. Before we get to the woodpeckers, I want to mention that here is a shot of Columbia and two shuttles on the two pads, A and B, which I kind of thought the iconic images with the rainbow, and then you had STS-125 going to Hubble, and you had STS-400, the emergency one on that. And I was thinking, yeah, maybe there's 4 or 5 times where this happened. No, 18 times.
We had an orbiter at each pad. Yes. Or a shuttle at each pad. Yep.
And what would necessitate that?
Well, just the launch schedule, because you spend several months at the pad before you actually launch. So if Columbia was launching first, it'd be out there, and before it launched, they would roll Endeavor, if that was the one going out to the other pad, out to the pad to start doing its prep work out there. And then Columbia would launch, and then shortly after Endeavor would launch.
They would never stage one at one pad and move it to the other one after one, like stage it
No.
at B and then move it over to A.
No,
for
I
launch.
never recall us shifting an orbiter or a shuttle from one pad to the other.
I mean, you got 1985 61C and 51L were on the pad at the same time on December 22nd until the launch of 61C, which was the one that had Bill Nelson on it, 2 Nelsons, Pinky and Bill on there. Another one early on was 31 and 35. That was an Astro Lab that had to be brought back in, I think.
Brought back several times.
Brought back several times because 35 and 41 were on the pad at the same time. On and on and on. Kind of interesting. The history of the activity out there that we love sharing with you with our good friend Terry White on Stay Curious. We've got Steve Jokum says the feed lines of the ET were 17 inches in
17
diameter.
inch.
So
I just agreed with you.
he's just agreed
Wait a
with me,
minute,
Steve. Don't do that. That's
17-inch
dangerous.
QD. I have to think sometimes. So.
I take a little bit of knowledge and stretch it. You know that. But no, I'm so blessed that we do have people like Steve Jokums that are supporting us and watching us on a daily basis. That's so important to us. And we know that you're enjoying it, and tell your friends to like us and follow us on YouTube. I guess the word subscribe there. There's nothing to do. You just hit subscribe and that's it. I don't even think you send them your email on there. But yes, here's the STS-70. Beautiful shot. As I'm going to make it small so you see that this is moving away from the remote service structure there. and it did have a little problem with woody woodpecker, as you see right there.
And they were so high up on the external tank, there was no feasible way to repair them at the pad. So they had to take them back into the VAB. And at the pad, we're exposed to the elements. Part of the orbiter is protected out there, but most of the shuttle is not under any type of cover. So even for you to go do your repair work, there's curing involved and all that. So you could actually damage your repair process if you got rained on while you were in the middle of repairing it.
Just the look of this and everything. If you're a space geek like I am, and Dave Stange is, what's those vents there for? Look at the different point tip, the point of attack on the whole thing.
Now you're asking me a system I didn't work on. I never worked on the tank.
Okay.
So,
Well, but you're with me though. There's a lot of intricacy
yes,
in things
yes.
that people don't even think about on there. Of course, the this foam is pretty much similar to that type of material you'd buy at the hardware store that you squirt out and put in a hole.
A little bit similar, yeah, but there's basically 4 different types of foam on the tank, depending on where they're going. But yeah,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and some of them is heavier, denser than others. That's harder, but yeah. So and they are all glued onto the outside of the tank. So.
But what were those woodpeckers after, you think? What was it? Never happened on any other shuttle mission.
Nope, we've had a lot of other birds land on them out there, but
bat.
And we've hit buzzards on the way up that were circling the pad. But no, I don't recall woodpeckers ever bothering it any other time. But that time they went out there and they tried all kinds of artificial snakes or fake snakes and different things out there to scare them away. It wasn't working, so finally they started staging technicians, and then eventually got some of the people that worked administration jobs to go out there on overtime and go out there with an air horn and sit up there, and anytime the woodpeckers got near the vehicles, they would sound the air horn and scare them away.
And Don Thomas there has signed, he was on STS-70, which was also the All-Ohio crew. Buckeyes, go Buckeyes. But Don always promotes this and loves to talk about it. And why not when you get Woody Woodpecker involved in a shuttle thing there? Keeping an eye on Space Shuttle Discovery, the bird team.
Yes.
And they got paid pretty good, I understand,
Yes,
to just
they did.
look for birds up there, sit
Just go
around
up there and protect the vehicles.
and listen to their Walkmans or whatever. Were you allowed to have a Walkman on the day out there? Or?
Yes, you could. Cameras, no, but you could have something to listen to. But, for them, it was a total different from their normal job. So they were just excited to be out there at the pad and get to sit next to the vehicle and watch what was going on.
Yeah, if they could stand the height out there.
Well, that was a requirement.
So we've got Mark Thiel. Or no, first Tom Colbert. Thank you for staying curious with us, Tom. He says STS-126 Endeavor was moved from Pad B to Pad A in 2008 after STS-125 to Hubble was delayed.
They moved it over to Pad A
from
to
B
launch
to A, yeah.
Okay.
In 2008. That's from Tom Colbert. And then Mark Thales says, I read a story about the crawlers from the Apollo days. The crawlers used punch cards for operation. Those Fortran punch cards, okay. They had to move the crawler, and the guy who was driving it took the punch cards home with him. Okay, wow. That's good. That's a good bit of trivia there. And those are computer punch cards, like hanging chads for you to vote here in Florida.
That's what we had at the beginning of the shuttle program, yes.
Yeah, and so I took Fortran in college, and you punched. I didn't even understand what I was doing, but that was something else. And our good friend Mark Usiak says, good Wednesday to everybody today. So hi to you there, Mark. Of course, hurricanes played a role in some of the rollbacks, but we're going to talk about what other one. I've got the last one 133, and then we're going to go to the hurricane.
One of the interesting ones is we started rolling back, put it down on the crawler, started rolling back to the VAB, got partially back, and the storm changed direction, so they stopped, went right back up to the pad, took it back, because it wasn't a total rollback.
That was 115, a back and forth.
Yep.
Tropical storm Ernesto. Halfway through the rollback, they said, "Let's. The weather's improving. Let's go back." Well, explain to us there. They couldn't do a U-turn in the middle.
No,
How
they
did
have they have a control at the what you would call the forward end and the aft end of the crawler. So yeah, depending on which direction you're going is which control you operate
yeah,
it with.
it went forward and backwards, and
Yeah.
they had cabs at each
Yeah.
end of it there. That would
It
were
could turn, but it didn't do a U-turn.
right. So, what was? Do you remember that 117? That was in 2006. There, August. Ooh, hot August time. 115. I love getting my
Yeah,
scroll out for
I
you,
think we had
Terry.
quite a few storms that year. 2007, yes.
115 launched in September. That was Atlantis. 27th launch of Atlantis on a hard hat mission. Yeah, I noticed that you had 2006. Let's see.
It was usually August and September when it got us.
Yeah, 2000. And to that end there, I was looking. 96, you had two because of weather. Bertha and Fran, two hurricanes there. So, but pulled off a couple pictures that we talked with Terry about. Here's the whoop, I hit that by accident. There's the last rollback and rollout, STS 133, the final mission for Discovery. There. What do you remember about that, Terry? That's Discovery's 39th launch, going out to the Space Center there.
Again, it was to do with the insulation on the tank.
Oh, right. So, though the tank gets a lot of talk for coming off and, the problem with Columbia, you were on top of it, though, all the time. I mean,
Well-
to roll back 6 times for the tank, shows that
There was a lot of other repairs that had to be done to the tank, but it didn't necessarily force a rollback. So.
Yeah. Well, that is part of the frustrations that crewed spacecraft have on there. And as I said earlier, we wanted to talk about this because we want to support the decisions of Starliner and their engineers. There's so many armchair engineers out there and test conductors and so forth. It seems that they want to question what's going on, but this is a maiden flight of a new vehicle, and it's actually the second flight of it, but it's crewed, and
Yeah.
you expect to have anomalies. That's why we've got such a fabulous astronauts like Butch Wilmer and Sonny Williams on there.
Yeah. But, there were issues that came up, and some of them were similar to the issues that we had in different shuttle flights with a lot of with the hydrogen leaks and that. So that's what they experienced there as well, that they had a problem with that, and it delayed several times when they got close. So I don't recall exactly what the last delay was that they scrubbed for, but then everything worked just fine on the next count.
Just fine. They got some problems they keep pointing out, but they're going to be fine. If anything, nothing else, they're extending the stay of Butch and Sunny, I think, for another week almost, Marty. Did you hear that? I think that's great.
Yeah.
Both of them have spent 6 months on the space station as it is. So, well, one of the main things that you have a rollback for is hurricanes. And yes, there is damage to be had at the Space Center. This is damage from Matthew, that horrible storm that was up here. Talk about the prep that you all went through that Kennedy Space Center probably still goes through, Terry.
Yeah, well, we got very good weather briefings and knew what to expect in the way of storms, but we had a lot of hardware to secure and buildings to secure and that, because the hangars where we actually kept the orbiters were very, very well protected against hurricanes. But if we had lost a lot of the support buildings because of a major storm directly hitting Kennedy Space Center, we wouldn't have been flying, even though the orbiters were still safe. If all your support buildings aren't operational, you're not going to launch. So
Even the secretarial and administrative management and all that stuff, you gotta.
But yeah, so we did a lot of preparations for hurricanes, a lot of securing stuff, and they're doing it right now since we're in hurricane season. They're out there, but since I'm not part of it anymore, I don't know what it is. But we had a whole manifest of people that were responsible for different areas and that and what they had to take care of. And for the orbiters, we had ride-out crews. We had technicians that actually
There you
were
were.
in the hangar and rode out the storms and right inside the hangar to help protect the orbiters and dry up things that they could. But yeah, they liked operating out of my office. They had direct access to the firing room and to the command center and that, but had TV and food and that. We gave them cots, and they just went on the clock and stayed on the clock till everything was all over. So it didn't bother those technicians to be collecting double time for a couple of days.
Well, there's Terry. His name there is one of the guys with Rosenbauer.
Yeah, for OPF1. So yeah.
And a lot of people maybe under 40 don't know what PGR means.
Oh, pager.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave us pager, so yeah, so they could get a hold of you and that. And
Pagers were a electronic device you kept on your belt, and all it gave you was the phone number.
Yeah.
Could it give you a little message?
I think it did. So
I think
it depends
could give
which
you
one you
one-line
got.
message, but it was doctors particularly had pagers because they would be paged and sit and then call the office for what was going on.
Yeah, the one I didn't like was the satellite phone.
And that
It took a lot to get the satellite phone working right, but you were communicating through a satellite. But they gave me one of those when I was working Columbia recovery in Texas.
40 years ago, though.
Yeah. And I said, no, I don't want this satellite phone. I said, I don't need to get a hold of you that bad. They said, no, but we need to get a hold of you. So keep the satellite phone.
On there. And when you rode out a storm, what storm was that you rode out?
I didn't ride out. It was all technicians. It wasn't.
Uh,
They didn't have any management ride.
but you got a phone call from Washington, D.C., and they wanted to
yeah,
know what the damage was to
that
the
was-
orbiters.
Yeah, that was once the storm had passed, and we went out there to assess the damage that was done to the Space Center. And then we told them that all 3 orbiters were fine. There was some damage to the outside of the building. The VAB took a big beating then. But I said, the orbiters were fine. Well, we get a message back from, no, they don't believe it. They can't see it. So they said, somebody has to go up there and get right next to the orbiter and get a picture of it so we can see that there's. So I had to crawl out there to the wing and show them that no, there's no rain, there's no damage, no nothing to the orbiters. That happens to be an OPF1. So.
And as Terry describes the OPFs, it wasn't just like, you just go take a picture of it. It's all covered up.
Yes.
With scaffolding and stuff.
Yeah,
So you kind
can't
of found an open edge there to show them.
Yeah, you can't step. Yeah, the top of the wing right there is one of the few areas where a photographer can get a little ways away from you to see, but that's looking down the right-hand side of the orbiter. So,
Well, we got a good morning, guys, from Cliff Watson having his brekkie in Pomona, Australia. It's already Thursday there. Hope everything's going good for you, Cliff. We certainly enjoyed your visit here 2 months ago. That went by quick. Anyone got any questions for Terry? Chime in now. We're about concluding our program today. Appreciate everybody watching us today, and tell your friends to follow us on Facebook and get our numbers up there, but as well as on YouTube is where the program airs, and there's no strings attached to YouTube. You can watch, you don't even have to be a subscriber. So hello, Hazel Banks there. I know she's watching. Thank you, Hayes, for supporting us. Marty has a question.
Nope, have comment. But backing up a few minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, you're talking about the 18 million pounds of weight on top of the pad.
yes.
Well, you got to double that because you got about 17 million pounds of thrust.
Oh, yeah.
That lift
I'm
off.
just talking about the actual weight that the crawler's picking up and taking up there and setting down. Yeah.
So I thought you were talking about the pad and why it was.
No, because you got all the pad structure, you got everything else that's associated with it, plus all the thrust that's created at liftoff.
And then another comment, Mark, from way back.
Yeah, sure.
You're talking about aborts and the negative press that NASA gets. Well, I think it was Dave Hilmers at the Hall of Fame Q&A. He said we would rather be on the ground wishing we were up in space than being in space wishing we were on the ground. And I thought that was very insightful.
Yes.
That was good.
That is a good twist.
Yep.
Rather be on the ground wishing you were up in space instead of in space wishing you were on the ground.
Yep.
And luckily we've never had that real scenario.
Yeah, and the one I like is I tell people I have friends in high places. And they look at me like that. I said, yeah, I have friends up on the space station.
There you go. They think you're a Garth Brooks fan
Yeah.
on there. So, well, Terry, you have anything to add about what we talked about today? Some of the rollbacks, the frustrations, is what we tried to get across is that they're inherent in this business. You got to only fly when it's safe. And no, well, you mentioned to me one mission that went back and forth so many times that they got nicknamed the Penguin.
The penguin, yes. Yeah, the bird that does never
What,
flies.
do you remember which one that
It
was?
was Atlantis. Atlantis was called the penguin for quite a while because of its issues. But yeah, because it just something else came up and we didn't go for the stay on the schedule was on. Then something else came up, and so yeah,
These might not have been at the pad, but
yeah, just
inside the
yeah, just
things.
yeah. They're just saying it's a penguin.
Well, it's kind of cruel to workers to nickname a.
Oh, we had
They're-
nicknames
they're-
for all different kinds of things. So,
Okay,
yeah.
it was all in fun, I'm sure, just to
Yep.
give a moniker to things, and what a
And
rich
it's-
history it
and-
was.
And it's one thing if you're picking on it in-house. It's when it's outside the house that's picking on you for things that are beyond your control. So yeah,
That's right. It's always good that the family can pick on each other, but when the outsiders pick on the family's going to support each other and,
Yes.
and rile on there. And there have been a lot of unfair judgments in the media, but some of that's because of the misunderstanding that some people have on there. Mark Thiel, can you talk about the internals of the mobile launch platforms? The internals of the mobile launch platforms. Not sure what he's.
well, inside that is like we said earlier, like going inside a ship,
Mhm.
inside the mobile launch platform. But there's all kinds of hardware down there. There's all kinds of electronics and stuff. Marty probably can talk more about the equipment that's down there. But I mean, yeah, it's a small little factory down inside that mobile launch platform.
Yes, we
I
did.
was like you. I was just a guest walking through a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, and even to open the doors, there's a valve that you have to push to let the pressure equalize, or you cannot get the door open because they're pressure sealed. So
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mark Thiel didn't know that either.
Yeah.
No, we've done some shows on that. Our Shuttle Fest 2 was a lot about that, based on the documentary by Cotton. What's Cotton's first name, Marty? You remember? Uh,
Yeah.
oh, he's a good friend of ours here, and I can't remember his first name. He did a documentary. He does a lot of documentaries on different things, and you go to Marty's going to look it up here.
Try.
Cotton is his last name on Facebook. But no, a lot of people are involved in that. It's its own little world, an own sector of space workers that have a lot of pride about that mobile launch platform. Is this part here we're talking about, and then the crawler actually picks up the mobile launch platform. All right, like he said, there's 4 points that are set down at the pad, and when you tour Kennedy Space Center and take the bus out to the Saturn V Center, you can see 2 of them laying there. But they took Mobile Launch Platform 2 apart, scrapped it out, and it was I think it launched Apollo 11 even, and they don't have any sentimental value to that on there.
Pete Bell.
Hmm?
Pete Bell was one of the co-founders.
Yeah, Pete.
Pete Bell. Bell.
Okay, Pell.
Bell. Like Ding Dong.
Yeah, Bell.
Pete Bell.
Pete Bell. Okay, that was the contractor that was taking that stuff apart there. And but anyway, good question there, Mark. We'll maybe feature the mobile launch platform. It's got a great history. We had a show on that, on a panel on that Tom Usiak helped us with that, and
yeah, and it was one
because they changed the names of them from the Apollo era to the shuttle.
Yeah.
MLP1 become MLP2 or something like that. And but they're really an unsung hero. Tom Colbert says greetings from Ireland. Great show. I'm looking forward to future shows. Thank you, Tom Colbert. And of course, Robert Law's up there in Dundee, Scotland. Appreciate you all staying curious with us. Yes, Marty.
Yeah, Content Holdings, that's the name of the company. Pete Bell is the founder.
Okay. All right. No, there's our friend's last name is Cotton, like Roy Cotton, Ray Cotton.
I can't find it first name.
Okay. I'll dig it out later on there. I'll think of it in a minute. The guy that did the documentaries, Marty, you remember him?
Yeah, I thought that was Pete.
No, Pete Chalamet, Pete Charmont or something. You went out and visited him
Right.
at the one they were tearing down. Yeah, he's the local contractor on there. So anyway, it's all in the good fun here. Of the rollbacks, out of 135 space shuttle launches, 20 rollbacks, that's only 15%. I think that's outstanding. You know,
And when you look at the things that are beyond our control,
yeah.
take the weather out of there. and that
Particularly the
number gets
weather,
even-
yeah. The weather was 6 of them there. I'm surprised you didn't have more weather issues there.
Well, we would wait till the very last, but this part of Florida has a history of the storm's turn.
Well, there were a lot
At
of
the
weather
last.
delays because we just saw Julie Payette talking about 5 delays she had because of weather
Yep.
on one of her flights.
Well,
and-
there's certain things we cannot do in adverse weather. So,
Yeah.
so it does
Yeah.
affect schedule.
Well, Terry, always great to have you here. Anything that you'd like to share with our Stay Curious audience here
No,
before
just
we
thanks
say
for
goodbye?
turning in, and please send more questions.
Yep, we'll have you on Thursday again in July. He loves coming on. We love having him on once a month to help you all stay curious with things that we don't know about, but we're still interested about. Even though the last shuttle launched, it's going to be 13 years next month. Wow, time flies, huh?
Doesn't it?
But it's still making an impact on our lives every day with that space station that's doing things to save lives with medicine and improve our way of life here on Earth, and all of the conveniences that you overlook today, like me being able to talk to you all on a smart tablet here and answer your questions, and with little Mia there. So take care of Papaw there, Mia, as this Papaw's taking care of his grandkids there. And I'll have to get mine on there. I've got 2. But I think this is their nap time still. So, Marty, you got something?
How about Wayne Cotton?
All right.
That's what it's found.
Okay. All right. Wayne, that sounds right. We'll look him up later and tell you all about it. Tomorrow, we've got coming on our show. We'll advance to that. Keep in mind the auction. And we've got this guy, Alex Carl, tomorrow. You're going to enjoy Alex if you've not talked to him before. We're going to bring him on Google Meets. So he'll be in Cologne, Germany, at the ESA headquarters, I assume. And we'll be here. And we're looking forward to our intern, Logan Cope, helping us do that. That's something we've had a little challenge doing, but because we're not doing a lot. So we're looking forward to that, and that'll break some new ice for us to bring more guests from around the world on here. So hope you get out to the Moon Hut at Cape Canaveral. They've got a good burger there, though it's a $13 hamburger. But on the wall back there in the wall, when they started in 1962, they were 35 cents.
Yeah. You can't buy a $10 hamburger anymore. So they're a
No,
whole more than
geez,
that.
you tell me about it, brother. But thank you so much. All right. God bless you and all you stand for and how you help our museum. Love that shirt today, too. 115 with some fireworks over the top of it there. So until tomorrow, thank you, Marty. Thank you, Logan. And thank you all for watching. Until tomorrow when we bring on ESA, Eurocom, Alex Carl, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.